happy you're all here. Thank you. So we're starting a new series today. I'm calling it Back to Basics. And my glasses are all greased up from making test runs. We're calling it Back to Basics, and we're going to focus on one ingredient at a time for several weeks at a time until we feel like we've covered it. But, you know, along the way, making really delicious things and delving into how you can use that ingredient and whatnot. We'll see where it takes us as we do it. But the first ingredient I've chosen is eggs. So I think we could probably do a whole year on eggs. There's so much to cover, you know, different ways to use them, different ways they react with your food, and, you know, basically the basis of so many dishes. So it's been said that the French chef's toque has all the pleats in it representing all the different ways that they have to know how to prepare an egg. So that said, instead of diving into, you know, fried eggs, boiled eggs, I decided to start with a souffle, mainly because it covers so many things and so many different critical parts of working with eggs, and it's so delicious. So without further ado, we are going to dive into this. As usual, I have a ton of stuff here. I have my eggs, I have shallots, cheese, milk, what else? Butter, flour. Do I have flour? I'm gonna have to run and get flour from the other side. That's not good. I've made 3 already today, so hopefully the one that's in the oven is going to come out perfectly. I actually have an alarm set so that it's this one you can't play it by ear as much as I usually do. Don't have the flour. Oh well, that's okay. So first things first, what we're going to do is make a bechamel like we did for the stuffed eggplant week, and then we're going to learn how to prepare the dish for the souffle and why we do it that way, and then we'll separate our eggs and all this. So give me 1 second to get flour. I can't believe I did that. Luckily it's right here. You can still hear me talking, right? Okay. And we're going to get our bechamel started. This is too big to put anywhere. So bechamel, as we did in the past, is butter, flour, milk. We're going to put some shallot in it too, and just to flavor it, and then strain that out actually, which I think is an optional step, but it gives it a little bit of extra shallot flavor. And I always forget to, I dove right in. I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Coco Huff. I'm going with the new stage name for the new year to match with the website. Coco Huff for cocohuff.com, COCOHOUGH. I've been designing kitchens and bathrooms in the New Jersey and New York area for 18 years. And now I'm marrying that with my love of food and cooking to just talk about everything in and about the kitchen, whether it's design or food or, you know, absolutely anything about that. So if you have questions as we're going along, please type them into the comments and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. So, okay, we're melting some butter to make our bechamel, and I'm going to mince 1 shallot. So we have the shallot here. We've done exactly this process in the past, and you know I love shallots, so I'm always happy to have them in my food. Like I said, this is based on a New York Times recipe for a cheese souffle, which I will post later in the comments section, or in the description. But it says to strain out the shallot after we make the bechamel, which I did it once with and once without, and I actually like it both ways. So it's really kind of up to you. It has a more refined texture, of course, without pieces of shallot in it, but I love shallot. And if you strain them out, then I was like, what would you do with these? You could save it and put it in a meatloaf. It's just shallots cooked in butter, you know, it's so good. All right, I have my electric burner over here. This is the second time using that, and hopefully I'll get more familiar with how to control it. Whisk. All right, we're going to whisk this together. If anybody made some of the foods we talked about during the holidays, I would love to know. I know Lynn, I don't know if Lynn is on right now, but she was planning on using her break to make some of them. Okay, so that flour that I forgot, we need 4 tablespoons. So that's just over a 1/4 cup. I'm going to put that in right now. And we're going to whisk it in. So just like when we did the bechamel for the eggplant, we want to cook the flour a little bit before we start adding milk to get rid of that raw flour taste. And it comes together like this pretty quickly, where you kind of have a solid mass here. And then as we add the milk, it's going to thicken and thin again. Teresa says, oh, I'm glad I asked this question. Teresa said she made the beef stew for her son when he came home, and he absolutely loved it. That makes me so happy. That makes me very happy. I know you've been trying a lot of these dishes, Teresa, so that is excellent. It's nice for the holidays to have something comforting and warm like that. All right, I just poured in some of the milk. This is 1.5 cups of milk. And now I'm going to whisk. So this is a little bit, there's some steps to this. I should really go back in time and tell you what a souffle is. I'm sure most of you know, but you know, the word souffle itself means puffed or breath in French. So our goal here is to get, it's flour and milk and butter, but we want this puffed pastry type savory dish. You can also make a chocolate souffle, of course. But our goal is to get the rise in it and have it be light and airy and fluffy. And you know, there's some mystique around it. If you go to a restaurant, hello Stacy, welcome. The whole crew is back. This is awesome. When you go to a restaurant, frequently you have to order your souffle for dessert if you're having a chocolate souffle before you order your meal, so they have time to prepare it. There's some lore about, like, if you're making too much noise, it will not rise when it's in the oven. Stuff like that. That makes it sort of intimidating, but we're here today to hopefully demystify the whole process and just talk about how it works. So that said, I just put one in the oven, and I kind of got the order of operations a little bit wrong, and I was like, oh my god, what if this one doesn't puff? Because the one earlier did, like, dramatically puff. It was beautiful. I think it will. Let's be optimistic. Let's peek at it, actually. I think it will. I'm not totally sure. If not, I'll put a picture up. The one from earlier looked exactly like the promo picture, and I was super excited. All right, all of our milk is in here in the bechamel. I'm going to turn this heat off, but let it sit, and the electric burner is going to keep it more than enough warm while we do everything else. All right, take that off the burner for a second. Bechamel, I always add a touch of nutmeg, so we're just grating that on a microplane to give it that little bit of nutmeg flavor. This is boiling away. It's because of the electric burner, so the heat is off at this point, and we'll just whisk a little bit. This pan, I should say, like I made our last bechamel in the square-sided saucepan, which is absolutely fine too. I love this one for many things, but it's good for whisking because you can get, there are no corners. You can get your round whisk kind of into the corners a little bit better. It's also amazing for popcorn with its lid, because you don't have to shake it. The popcorn kind of rises itself up from the shape. I just discovered this by accident. And it fills itself to the top. I love it when it does that with popcorn. So, okay. We are going to prepare our dish next. I don't know the best order for this, even though I've done it now 3 times. So what we want to do is give the eggs something to climb up as they're rising. This one's making me nervous now. Oh, I don't know if that one's gonna rise. Oh, we'll see. I don't know. We're gonna see. There's quite a lot of time left for it still. All right, so we want to give the egg something to climb up as it's cooking. So we're going to butter and then coat this dish with cheese. Parmesan cheese. If you were doing a sweet souffle, you could coat it with sugar. You could also use flour. It just needs to not be so slippery. If that one doesn't rise, I'm going to just pretend I had a technical problem. No, I'm not. I won't do that. Uh-oh, if that happens now, you'll think that's what I did. All right, so that was 2 teaspoons of butter on the whole dish. And I need a paper towel. I use either the butter wrapper or a bit of wax paper or something like that to do it. It's just, you can use a paper towel to keep your hands a little bit neater. It's not critical. And then this is 1/3 cup of Parmesan cheese, which I'm going to use to coat this. So the same way you would butter and flour a baking dish, kind of shake it. If anything falls out, we're going to add that to the other cheese that we are going to use in our souffle. I just am paranoid over here. Oh, I'll cry. No, I won't. Okay. So we're coating this all the way up the sides with cheese. You can see it's totally coated now. That's grated Parmesan cheese. And then whatever doesn't stick, I am dumping into this bowl where I'm going to put other cheese. Maybe not that one. Let's do a clear bowl. Okay. And then we're going to grate our cheese. And then we'll start dealing with the actual eggs, which is really the heart of this dish. And talking about how to get eggs to fluff better for the egg whites. And fluff, is that really the right word? You know, to beat them until they're whipped into nice peaks, which is what we're looking for. All right, we're going to grate some cheese. I have a Gruyere here. We need a cup of grated cheese as well. So we'll approximate. All right, everybody send me good luck for the souffle gods for this other one. My brother says I never had the courage to make a souffle. I think that is, you know, a lot of people feel that way, including me. So it is intimidating. It's just a lot of kind of rules about it, but overall it's not. The ingredients are very simple. They're all things that you have in your house, and even if it's not totally puffed, which I can check over here again. Oh my God, it's not puffing. It still tastes delicious. It's still cheese and eggs and flour and milk and all that. I should say about the milk, that was 2% milk. If you had skim milk, I would add a tiny bit of cream, which is why I put cream optional in the ingredients, just to add a little bit more fat to it. So that's that. So we have our cheeses, and now we're going to talk about eggs. So this is not just for the souffle, this is for any time something is calling for egg whites or egg yolks. You have to separate them, of course. We're going to separate 7 eggs, hopefully successfully. And my egg whites are going to go into this bowl. So we want our eggs, in order to get the fluffiest egg whites, we want them to be close to room temperature. We want our bowl to be absolutely free of any fats or any like residue of any kind. And we're going to add some cream of tartar, which makes it more acidy and stabilizes the egg whites once they're whipped. You know, I'm sure everyone has, you sometimes have trouble when you're trying to whip egg whites. So can you see this? Yeah, I guess so. We're going to crack the egg and start separating. This bowl is clean and the mixing bowl is clean. And we're using the shell back and forth to get the egg whites out. And then the egg yolks, you kind of have to keep track of what hand is going where. Egg yolks are going in this bowl. We're going to use that into our bechamel. This is going into compost. And then one at a time, I'm going to clean that off first because of the cheese on my board. The egg whites are going, each one, as I do it, into this bowl so that this one remains the working bowl. And the reason we do that then is if a yolk breaks and then like contaminates the whole thing with the yolk fat, I can get a new bowl and I haven't ruined like 7 egg whites. Usually you can get the yolk out if you just use a shell to kind of scoop it out, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes it really like combines itself in there, and then you don't want to have to start over, because if there's fat in your egg whites, they will not whip. So that's the same reason we use this bowl. So the traditional, this is one of these things I could go on forever. Helene says, me either, might try it now. Good. Every time someone says they're going to try it, I check that one to see if it's puffing. Definitely try it. It was really, are my pictures on here? Yeah, I don't know if I can know how to post it right now. But the one earlier, I was like, whoa, it really worked. It like fluffed to the sky. And that's because I didn't stir the cheese in too late like I did for this one. So if you follow the instructions, it will work. I promise. All right, white number 2, I have to keep track. We need 6 yolks and 7 whites. This feels a little bit like shrimp deveining day when that went on for a long time. So yolk number 2 goes here. There's a tiny bit of shell, so instead of putting my fingers in there, I just use the other shell to scoop it out. And white number 2. All right, a few more. Always break them on a flat surface so you don't, it just, ooh, yeah, oh, we're good. So you don't like pierce the yolk on the side of the bowl as you're cracking it. That's just one more way to 3, okay. One more way to keep it from, from breaking. If they break, I just put them in a separate container and save it for other things. So that's 4, okay. Keep track for me, because if I forget, I'm gonna ask you. If the whole thing is mixed together, just save it and make scrambled eggs. 4, okay. If you have an extra, this is the first thing I've been doing that I haven't been able to think and talk and do at the same time in this whole series. All right, if you have an extra white, you save it to make like meringues or something like this. If you have extra yolks, whoa, that one's fine, okay. 5, knock on wood, none of them have, none of the yolks are broken yet. The yolks, I think we're going to make lemon curd at some point, so that's a good thing to save for that. And I just save them in ice cube trays if I have too many. That was 5, right? 6, one more after this. So our bechamel is sitting, we can revive that. The only thing that can't really sit is the egg whites. Once they're fluffed, they're fluffed. All right, and 7, and we don't need this yolk. All right. So what am I gonna do with it right now? I broke the rule. I didn't transfer those 2 as I went, but they're all good. They're all good over there. All right, extra yolk goes in that bowl. And I think we're doing well here. Okay, if you have any questions, let me know. We have our 6 yolks and 7 whites. I am going to do the whites kind of last, and we're going to finish up the sauce first with the yolks and the cheese, and then whip the whites at the last second and talk about folding and how we do that also to keep things very light. So we're going to do this according to the New York Times directions, which were to strain the bechamel to get the shallots out before we proceed. I have to check again. Oh, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's actually coming in. It's also a different dish. I used like a baker with a lid because I only had one big ramekin. All right, I'll stop talking about it. That's like the Julia Child's rule. Like, never explain your food away. If you don't think it's right, other people will still think it's great. And I'm breaking the rule from the master. All right, the bechamel is going into the strainer. It's still hot, which is what we want right now. And then it's going to be like pretty thick, but we're going to push it through, this is a valuable skill as well. I do this for a lot of things actually, like push through a fine mesh strainer with a spatula like this to clarify soups, to make a blended soup a little bit fancier. It makes it smoother and more delicate if you do this. What else? I find myself doing this a lot. All right, and you can see it's coming through pretty easily, but it's thick. It's like pudding consistency, which which is what we want. You need a touch of salt. Every cheese souffle recipe calls for white pepper, and I have to be honest, I've never even owned white pepper. I think maybe I should. I don't know, do any of you use white pepper? I've seen chefs say, oh, it's not real pepper, and then I've seen particularly French chefs with a lot of rules about how you don't add black pepper to white sauces. So I think there are opinions in both directions about that. All right, so all we're left with is just our shallots in here. I'm going to scrape off the bottom of the sieve. And make a mess. Okay, and then we're going to whisk our egg yolks. Whoa, I really did make a mess. In here, one at a time. All right, whoops. Clean that off a little bit. So this is the base. And the key, this with the eggs and the cheese, this is the base for our souffle. And the key is to get the base kind of accomplished so that you can lighten it up with egg whites and then fold your egg whites in, and this is all, you know, made much lighter and airier. All right. Get that off of our whisk. This cannot be used to whisk the egg whites now because it has the fat, so you would use a different one. Oh no, I'm going to use it for this still though. Spatula over there. And we're going to do one yolk at a time to incorporate them. So let's just put you here so you can sort of see what I'm doing. David P. says he's used white pepper for a specific recipe, but he doesn't remember. There are quite a few that call for it. Mostly, in particular, these French master sauces, which we are going to talk about at some point. So I will have to buy some and try it. I don't even really know what it tastes like. I guess I do because I've had these sauces, but see, oh, look how nice this is already. It's kind of went from thick and gloopy to this ribbon consistency, which is the word people use sometimes for whipped egg yolks and custards and things like that. We're also going to do a creme brulee at some point. There's so much. I mean, at some point you're going to say, okay, enough. It's been 6 months of eggs, but there's just so much. I actually do have a friend who does not like eggs, and I don't know. Do any of you not like eggs? That's a good question, actually. All right, so we have our egg yolks in with our bechamel, looking like that. This is definitely the best of the ones I've made. It's looking really exactly like it should. And now we'll add our cheese to that. So this is the Parmesan that we had left over from coating the ramekin, as well as a cup of Gruyere. Gruyere is the traditional cheese for this. So that will melt slightly because this is still a little bit warm. We used Gruyere for something else and I can't remember now. I can't remember what it was. Was it the strata? I think it was in the strata. I just love Gruyere. It gives such a nutty richness to things. Okay, we have our base. You can see that it's a beautiful yellow color from all those egg yolks. And now we have to whip up the egg whites. So I'm using the bowl from my stand mixer. I do have the recommended, if you're in France at culinary school, the recommended bowl is a copper bowl. And the thing I've heard, I have not actually tested this, so maybe I should, is that if you're using a copper bowl, it reacts with the egg whites in a way that makes the cream of tartar unnecessary. So it actually stabilizes the egg whites. I don't know that to be true, and I also don't like cleaning the copper bowl. It needs so much maintenance. So the next best thing in order is sort of another metal bowl, and then glass, and then plastic, because you just know that the metal is not absorbing anything and is totally free of grease. Okay, so, and then everything room temperature so that they will puff more. This is my cream of tartar. I think most people have this in their pantry and probably don't use it too often. It's 1/8 of a teaspoon, so I just go 1, 2, 3 and get a little bit on top. You know, any amount will improve the your egg whites in the end. Okay, and now we're going to whip them. Let me talk about this too. I got a new toy, which is just this basic hand mixer. I have done this in my stand mixer, you know, in this bowl, but I find, and I've actually read someone else made a comment about this too. I was like, oh good, I'm not alone. I find that the paddle or the whisk attachment on the stand mixer just can't get enough contact with the bottom of the bowl, and it tends to leave a puddle of egg whites in the bottom, and as much as you try to mix that back in, it never fully mixes in. They're always a little bit watery, and they're always like sliding around the bowl. That's just been my experience. So I've usually either you hand mix them, hand whisk with a whisk, which takes a long time, but it's fine, or I have the immersion blender that I showed you a couple weeks ago that has a whisk attachment. You could use that. Any way you would whisk things, including the stand mixer, is totally fine, but this is like tried and true from my childhood. I'm just happy to have it now, and I'm not fighting with my stand mixer. Okay, so I've timed this to see. Sean says, souffle is extremely versatile, savory and sweet. That is true. I'm thinking we should do a chocolate one at some point as well. That would just be fun to do, and it's very much the same technique. I've timed this. It takes less than 2 minutes, so it's going to be loud, but for a very short time. So I'm going on to like high-ish speed, and we want stiff peaks. So let's do it. You can still hear me. So it's already, you might have to turn your volume down actually. It's already foaming quite a lot. So we're going to keep going. Cover your ears. Alright, we have like foamy white. It's foamy keep going though. Alright, for the noise. It must be good. Alright, you see we have now like very lovely foamy. Oh, good. Oh, I'm going to talk over this. This is the most noise I've made for sure. Alright, that was the most noise I've made so far in all these weeks. So what we want is stiff peaks that stay up. I'm going to do another couple seconds, but we don't want to overdo it, and we'll talk about that in a second. All right, there we go. Now you can see if I pull the beaters out, it leaves the impression of where it was, and the peaks are maybe not totally stiff, but they're staying where they were. Look, okay, see how the shape of where the beater was is in there, and now that means we're done. Okay, so the final stretch. Teresa says she is willing to taste the chocolate souffle. So I appreciate that. I think we're going to have to do that. So the technique is the same, whether it's cheese or chocolate for folding in the egg whites. So imagine if this was, you know, a bowl of melted chocolate with the flour and cream in it. It would be basically the same consistency. And what we want to do is take about 1/4 of these egg whites and stir them in. So we're just trying to lighten up this mixture, you know, not as gently at first, but we're stirring them in to lighten this up so that it doesn't crush the egg whites when we start folding them in. All right. So that is kind of lightened up a little bit. It has a slightly lighter color. And now we're going to fold in the rest of these egg whites. All right, so I'll pour this in. And the shape of like how you stir, see how there's no liquid at the bottom. That is why we use the hand mixer. It's just so much better really for that. So to fold, we want to kind of cut down the middle. Let's see if they can see it better over here. Cut down the middle and turn it over, and then turn the bowl slightly and do it again. And keep doing this very gently so that we're not defluffing our, there's gotta be a better word, deflating, sorry, deflating our egg whites as we go. Defluffing. Okay, this is what happens when I do all the practice alone, is I come up with my own words for it. Okay, so very gently until it's almost one color, but a little bit of like swirl still in it. Keep going. So this is where I realized in my test one that I had messed up and I didn't put the cheese in. So just now, the one that's in the oven, and I went, oh, to hell with it, and I threw it in, which it could have been just a plain souffle. So we'll see how that works, but that's not the right way. You can see this is all smooth, the cheese is melted, and it's good. All right, so that's what we want, and it has kind of a, it has like a cloud-like quality. It almost looks like a lemon fool, that dessert. I think that's the right one I'm thinking of, like a very fluffy lemony, although it's not lemon. But that's what it feels like, light and fluffy. And at this point, of course, the eggs are already whipped, so they're mixed with fat, and that's fine. And now it's going into our prepared dish. So this will cover the bottom, the Parmesan is on the bottom. Yeah, this is good. This dish is better than the one I'm going to pull out for it. That's okay. And just get this all in here, and then quickly into the oven at 400 degrees. I should say that at the beginning, actually. We've preheated to 400, and immediately then lower it to 375 and bake for 35 minutes. So let me see. I have to ask Alexa, Echo, how much time on my timer?
You have 50 seconds left on your 35-minute timer.
Could that be more perfect? All right, in 50 seconds, this one will go in, and that one will come out. So, I hope that made it seem easy, even though I got nervous just for my own sake in the middle. Really, we're going to do some other things with whipping egg whites and tempering yolks. There's so much we could do, and once you sort of learn, once you've done it once, you will be comfortable with the next recipe that calls for egg whites or egg yolks. Okay, that did rise. It's just that the dish is a lot taller than this one. So I think we're going to be pleased with how it looks 30 seconds from now. So chat with me if you have had a souffle before. I think it's been a long time. My kids didn't even really know what it was. They were surprised by the ordering it in advance part. Echo. Stop. All right, this one's going in, and the other one is coming out, and we're going to serve it up, and look at how you serve it. Okay, these are my new, this was a Christmas gift, new mitts. All right, let's see what we've got. Oh, it is beautiful. All my fear was for nothing. All my fear was for nothing. That was just my own paranoia. Okay, let's do it. That one's going in. And look at this. It's like a cloud. This is just a taller dish, but it is very puffed. Oh, I have to close the door. Hold on. Puffed in the middle. A little bit, I don't know how well, can you see this? A little bit jiggly. Let's go to this camera. All right, see, it's puffed in the middle. It has a jiggliness to it, which means that it's still kind of fluffed. The whites are risen. A nice rounded top. The extra Parmesan got nice and browned. I'm very happy. I can't even speak correctly. I'm so happy. So, okay, we're gonna serve it up and show you like the, David P says it looks great. Hi, Jen. Jen is sending her compliments too. Thank you. It does look great. I have to remember that's hot. That was in a hot oven. All right. See, never get nervous about your own food. I need to remember that rule. I just wanted it to be perfect, and I think it is. All right, I have a plate here. Actually, I'm going to put both things on this board. So basically, especially with the chocolate one, but a little bit with the cheese too, it's almost like the idea of a molten lava cake when you have the chocolate one, that the middle doesn't get quite cooked and the chocolate flour butter mixture that's in the middle becomes like a sauce. So that's what you want a chocolate one to be with. The cheese one, it depends, I think, how much cheese you use, whether it's going to be molten cheese on the inside. It's a little bit more solid. So the proper way, just to thank you, Teresa and Stacy and David and Jen, like it does look so good, right? I hope you can see it in this low dish, but this dish has a pretty lid. It's just a beautiful piece. That is so nice. I've just been eating so much souffle today. But the proper way to serve souffle is with 2 large spoons. And we kind of just dig into the middle. Let me put this so you can see it. We dig into the middle and see what's in there. Oh, it's so like jiggly and light. Oh my gosh. It has a perfect like custardy, there's not really a sauce in the middle, but it has a perfect custardy texture. And then I'm going to use these spoons to kind of scoop out a piece, get along the edge so you get the browned outside. A little bit, it's not that browned. And the top crust. Oh my god. That looks so good. I did not get the browned outside. Okay. There we go. And I guess you could serve it with more of a sauce. I actually did not really look up what other serving ideas. I would eat this, you could serve this for dinner with a salad. You could serve this for an appetizer as a first course, a souffle. I love to do individual things as well. Let me taste. Oh my god. It's so light. It's so crazy light. That is really good. I have to say, I went from total like despair to elation. This has been a roller coaster of emotions for me. Thank you for coming along. But I was going to say, an individual size ramekin like we did the strata in is also really great. We've done so many individual things. I decided not to today. But it makes a nice presentation. That is insanely good. I highly recommend it. If you make it, please let me know. I'm going to have this brown bit too. Oh my god. It's just like a cheesy cloud. It's so good. Thank you for being here with me. Stacy says, if you prepare an individual ramekins, do you need to adjust anything? That's a great question. The thought I had about it earlier was that you would probably need more butter and more Parmesan cheese to prepare the individual ramekins. I think the third of a cup of Parmesan would not be enough. So I can look up, how many this would make. I'd say probably 6, at least 6 larger ones, like my 10-ounce ramekins, or similar to the strata actually, like 6 big ones, or probably 8 of the 6-ounce ones, and then. Other than that, it's the same. So you still want to coat the sides and maybe a shorter baking time as well. But I will post that in the description of the whole thing that I add later. It's a great question because it does make a nice, imagine like a first course, and then, it's very nice with a little cocktail. So, okay. I'm going to finish eating that. It's so great. And I'm just glad that you were all here. Helene sent a star emoji. Thank you. And Stacy said, does it cook faster? Yes, I think an individual one would cook probably 20 minutes is my guess. And I will also do some research on that and post it. So now I want to do that. Maybe our chocolate ones should be individual little things with like powdered sugar on top. We have to do it. Okay, we're going to do that too. Yeah. This has been really fun. So thank you again. I am really grateful for all of you. I'm happy to be in this new year with you and doing this together. So I will see you next week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.